So I've had 24 hours plus to reflect back on the Austrian Grand Prix. Through drinking, being shite at pool, and damaging my ego on F1 ranked races online.
Bruh.
What a joke!
But back to the Austrian Grand Prix. It was more farcical than my ranked lobby driving skills. It was almost like the race stewards and the race director Michael Masi had spent too much time playing in those F1 ranked lobbies.
Bruh. Bruh. Bruh.
What a joke!
Yes, Fernando. It is well and truly what a joke. But back to the Austrian Grand Prix penalties. As soon as Norris received a very harsh penalty, shall we say, for his defence on Perez, it just set the precedent for the rest of the race, and Perez probably kind of took that a bit personally. I mean, just ask Charles Leclerc, because he found out the hard way, not once, but twice. See, that 5-second penalty that they gave Lando Norris for doing that exact same thing to Checo meant that it was a slam dunk 10 seconds altogether for Checo. 5 for the first time, 5 for the second time, and the second one was probably more Leclerc's fault. But he wasn't shy at letting his feelings known about Checo Perez's driving. So, was there any fair, clean and respectful racing? Well, yes and no. I mean, Russell versus Alonso, whilst no one went off the track, Russell was moving under braking, so that's a bit illegal. So I guess yes, no. So when Verstappen crossed the finish line to win and take a 32-point lead going into Silverstone, there was surely no more drama, right? Right.
Bruh.
And because of this, there was a bit of chaos post-race, mainly with the stewards.
Bruh.
You might be wondering, did George Russell score any points because of this? No. In fact, my biggest takeaway from the post-race shenanigans, because of that last lap incident, was it actually benefited Raikkonen. Yeah, he caused the collision and he benefited from it. Okay, so whilst Kimi didn't score any points from it, but it's the principle of it. Like, you'll be punished more for speeding under double wave yellows than for causing an incident that caused the double waved yellows. Imagine if something like that had decided, I don't know, the championship, whether it's at the top, the midfield, or at the bottom, especially when prize money is so valuable to these teams. Imagine that something like that deciding the outcome of the constructors. So if I was to give a brief rundown of all the penalties that were given out over the Austrian Grand Prix weekend, including practice and qualifying. So we have Raikkonen for speeding in the pit lane, Ocon for speeding in the pit lane, Vettel for impeding Alonso in qualifying, and then obviously we had Lando for forcing Perez off the track, Perez for forcing Leclerc off the track twice, Stroll sped in the pit lane, so did Giovinazzi. Tsunoda crossed the white line on entry, not once, but twice, which is quite embarrassing considering he didn't do it last week, and it's the only track he's raced on, that's had prior experience before coming to F1. Raikkonen caused a collision with Vettel, and Latifi failing to respect double yellows, and same as that, Mazepin. It was like, you get a penalty, you get a penalty, everyone gets a penalty. Well, the race as a whole, well, the fact we're talking about race stewards and their decisions to give penalties post-race, well, it's a bit like coming out of a football game and just talking about match officials and VAR. You know, the same goes with F1. If we're talking about penalties post-race, then it kind of highlights what type of race we had. Yes, Verstappen was unstoppable up front, and you know, Mercedes never looked like catching them. You know, they didn't look like doing that at the first race in Austria. But the penalties did impact the spectacle of the race, as you know, whenever we saw some close racing, I was like in my head, well, you know, if one of you forces the other one off track, that's a slam dunk penalty because of the early precedent they set with the Norris and Perez incident. But the next race at Silverstone, usually that's a race free of controversy, right?